so big I want to be monkey!
Hey guys, and welcome back to another fucking video. The fuck, why can't I talk? What the fuck is this on my face?
That's better. Well, hello there. Fancy seeing you here. Are you always on the spectrum? Well, I am. Legally, that is. And today, since I'm too lazy to grind my ass off on the cheese grater that is Source Filmmaker, you're gonna get a normal 2-incher of a video about VTubers. Oop. Well. Looks like the pigs in blue still haven't given up on sending me to the slammer. Let's hurry this up before I'm back in prison chowing down on a cockroach sandwich. So, you like anime.
OMG, it's literally me! For real!
And you also like streaming. Well, I bet you like LARPing too, because that's what being a VTuber kind of is.
What the fuck?
What started for many people in 2019, and even as early as 2011 for some people, became a phenomenon as big as Joe Biden's world record for stuttering. But unlike Sleepy Joe, most people tend to like VTubers. But there's a catch. Over time, a decent few VTubers started to show their true colors, and they've broken what I'd like to call the 5 cardinal sins for a VTuber. And I'm gonna go over these 5 sins, so make sure that you heed my words like I was the literal prophet of the end of times. Because if you don't, I'll find you, and I'll come inside one of your socks. The first sin.
I eat lollies for breakfast!
Not being a weeaboo. Okay, so most VTubers use anime avatars. That's about as common as the knowledge that your father never came back from the store with cigarettes. Mine too, but that's because he's dead. In the case of being a VTuber and using an anime avatar, you'd have to be on the lowest end of the spectrum if you couldn't figure out that VTuber fans like anime and expect you to also like anime. Especially if you're gonna parade around like every 2D horse slinging their tits. If you're gonna be a male VTuber, well, you're also shit out of luck. So stop running around complaining about lollies and shotas and start watching some anime. Because everyone knows that an anime a day keeps the grass away. So get back in your fucking basement and start watching some degen anime. It's what you're using to pander to people with. And if you're one of those people who don't involve anything related to anime, then fuck off, I'm not interested. Unless you look like this.
What's in your pocket? Tell me!
The second sin.
Shut the fuck up!
Being a Twitter-brained ideologue. So I know that some people just can't stop using Twitter. It's like a drug. But what's the one thing that's common with almost every drug? Well, let me spell it out for you. It's the fact that you were all raised by single mothers. And on Twitter, everyone goes there to show off their fatherless behavior. It's also the place you go to when you want to get infected by some parasitic disease, and you end up adopting the persona of someone who's never been spanked as a child. So even if you're a living, breathing anime girl, you're bound to wind up becoming another worthless sack that ends up complaining about non-existent fictional characters being problematic. You want some actual serious advice in this video without a layer of autism-induced comedy? Well, here you go. Stay the fuck off of Twitter. End of story. The third sin.
Wake up.
Being as interesting as the sock that I stole from you. You want it back? Here you go. This, unironically, is an important sin that you need to avoid. Being boring is like being on unemployment. You offer literally nothing of value to the world until you stop being a NEET, living rent-free off of government stimmy checks. Kinda like me, but at least I try. You're like that one guy doing the Harlem Shake in his bed, basically doing nothing. The least you can do is be loud and obnoxious, because the last thing that anyone really wants to do is watch someone say nothing at all while playing a video game that they'd rather either play themselves or watch the Rad Brad play for hours. Now that doesn't mean you have to necessarily have a personality that everyone loves. You could also have the personality of a literal penis with legs. But as long as you do something interesting, even if it's a gimmick, then you're good to go. So if you lack any semblance of the personality for it, maybe you've got the breakable bones for it. Now go and get yourself a full body tracking setup and a 3D model, and maybe literally bust these nuts all over the living room floor, making sure that you will never have children ever. The fourth sin.
Leave me alone!
I am once again asking for your financial support.
Being a political bird brain. Look, I know that everyone likes to think they know it all. They like to pretend that if they were in charge of everything, communism could work, because they'd kill anyone who they didn't agree with. Or, they think that if you just erased all the trainees in the world, then all your money troubles would be over because the trainees aren't getting their HRT therapy bought for by taxpayer dollars. But in reality, you don't know the difference between your ball sack and your eyeballs. The last thing that VTuber fans want to see in their cute kawaii is fuck moe blobs and their giga chads with imaginary oversized dongs is some half-baked essay that belongs on Twitter about why all men are actually evil rapists in the patriarchy, or why your neighbor is some commie spy from China come to steal all your jobs. They just want to see a few things on top of whatever else VTubers do. Punchably cute faces that scream, "I'm a virgin," massive badonkadonks the size of literal moons, and covered up ding-dongs the size of a peanut. Because a lot of VTubers are Asian, and we're all lacking a bit. Except me, I'm a dirty fucking happa. If you don't know what that is, then don't bother. And finally, the fifth sin.
I've got a peer-reviewed study right here that says you're a pussy.
Being a walking vagina. Now, I don't mean that literally. Or I might, but in reality, the last thing you should be as a VTuber is someone who's got skin thinner than a TikTok user's attention span. Take Silvervale, for example. Not my favorite streamer. In fact, I don't even really watch her. I just, choked the chicken a few times to her, especially when she got that model update. Partially because I'm a closeted furry. Don't quote me on that. It was a joke. But she played a certain game that I dare not mention. If I was a fucking pussy.
But I was also a wizard girl. I was hard into Harry Potter.
That's right, she played Hogwarts fucking Legacy. Shocker, right? Eat my ass. Well, for a bit, she got bullied off of playing said game that Twitter would prefer to call the death of Planned Parenthood. But you know what else she did? She decided to come back and play it anyways. Sure, she graduated from VShojo, but at least she decided to flip the bird at people who actually deserved it. And you too can stop being a pussy by just not being a pussy. Or if you're a dude, stop being a bussy, because you're not bussin'. Your bussy's just always squirtin'. And I don't mean in a sexual way, I mean in the fact that you're always shitting your pants at any sign of drama. And I'm at a fucks to give if you don't literally or metaphorically have a pair. Stop being a pussy, and stop being a sinful VTubing gremlin. So that's been all for today's episode on random shit that I just made up in my head for a video. Now if you'll excuse me, I haven't had lunch, so I think that cockroach salad has my name on it. Hey there, partner. Do you think you could pass me the salt and pepper? I sure can, handsome. If you take a bite of this meat I'm packing, it's got your name right on it.